We've all heard by now about the rally they just held at Madison Square Garden, and I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in them because it was less than a week before Halloween, and it's the one time they didn't take the opportunity to dress up like ghosts. We know they already have the costumes, so it just feels like a wasted opportunity is all I'm saying. The thing you've probably heard the most about it is the amateur comedy hour that bombed worse than the time Matt Rife made a Netflix special out of jokes he robbed from his senile grandfather. And everybody's out here wondering, like, why are we not talking more about this? Why are we not talking about how racist and misogynistic and sexist all of this was? And I feel like we are, and I'm wondering why we're really paying any mind at all to it anymore. First, why are we even surprised? Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian who's never written a funny joke in his life. The only funny joke about any Hinchcliffe routine is that he ever thought it was a good idea to get on stage in the first place. Unfortunately, the humor of that wears off pretty quickly if you've ever had to listen to him for more than his opening line. But that makes him the logical and ideal addition to the lineup of talentless white suburban rappers and washed-up arthritic wrestlers that are currently on the Trump Trash Truck Tour. And that's because the vile and violent rhetoric and the racism and the sexism isn't a flaw in the product, it's the selling point. We are rounding off a decade of this shit, right? He was peddling the racist birther conspiracies years before he ran for president. A jury has found him liable of assaulting women. He's referred to minority countries as shitholes. He wrote love letters to a Korean dictator. He's repeatedly fawned over dictators like Putin and Orban. He actively blocked hurricane disaster relief aid to American citizens in Puerto Rico because apparently Puerto Rico isn't American enough for him. He's called women horseface, said they were bleeding out of their wherever. He called Ted Cruz's wife ugly. He was best buddies with old Jeffy and is trying to stop the files from being released because you know damn well his name's on it. He tried denying election results, stoked an insurrection, tried overthrowing the election, and now has been convicted of 34 felonies. And that's just the teaser reel. Anybody with any integrity, decency, or a conscience who needed a reason to leave has left already. If him saying that he wants the generals Germany had in the 40s hasn't scared these people off, a racist joke about Puerto Ricans isn't gonna do the fucking trick. You will discover perpetual motion before you find a sense of decency in these people you can appeal to. So get working on that magnet-powered car because that's a better use of your time. But I think it's worth discussing why that is. Because as much as we like to believe that the racism and the sexism and the vitriol is a root cause of their support, and we want to believe that they are just genuinely bad human beings, all of that is a symptom of the actual root cause. And that root cause is fear. Do not let the beards fool you. These are scared little children. This is an existential fear. It's not they're afraid of a specific thing. They are just afraid in general. They are existentially afraid of their insignificance and meaningless existence in this world. They are incredibly insecure about who they are and where they fit in the cosmic sense. These are the exact same insecurities and existential fears that drive people to religion. Weak-minded people flock to authoritarian figures when they are afraid. As much as they preach about how much they want freedom, freedom is the last thing they want. They want somebody to tell them how to feel and how to think. They want somebody to tell them who they can blame for feeling afraid and insignificant. They want somebody to tell them that they're a special little boy and welcome them into the club. They want somebody to give them power and authority over a lesser group, to make them feel like they aren't so pathetic and insignificant. And they want that authoritarian figure to tell them that he is going to keep them safe from all of these existential threats that make them live in fear. It's literally just a bunch of grown-ass men with daddy issues. Don't believe me? Look at Tucker Carlson's weird-ass speech calling Trump daddy and begging him to come home. And all the racism and the sexism and the vitriol and the fear of drag queens and trans people and gay people and child-eating liberals, all that is a tool. To them, it's exactly what they think women are. A vessel to carry an unwanted burden. It just so happens that in this case, instead of a non-viable zygote, the burden in this case they're forcing other people to carry for them is their own existential fears and pathetic insecurities. And the racism and the sexism and the homophobia and this caricature of the purple-haired liberal that they've dreamt up that's easy for them to hate is the perfect tool for that, because it gives them a physical place to put all of those terrified little feelings they have. It gives them a physical place to blame all the things that they can't take personal responsibility for, and it gives them an easy group of people for them to feel superior over and that they can try to oppress and exert their power over so they can feel like they're less insecure, pathetic pieces of shit. Now, they of course don't realize this because they have the critical thinking skills of a microwaved yam, but this is just some Darwinism, brainstem, bottom of the pack beta shit, right? It's all feelings. They've got a lot of feelings and they feel like they're an insignificant member of the herd. And Trump is the weak-minded follower's idea of a strong leader. And Trump knows that weak-minded people are easy to exploit, so all he has to do is validate them, and he does that through the racism and the sexism and the homophobia and the misogyny. He makes them feel better. He's their sugar daddy. Just ask Tucker. And because of the way he makes them feel, they are more than happy to get on their knees for it. Weird though, because they pay him, but I guess the sugar daddy analogy had to break down at some point, right? So back to the original point. Yes, all of the things that were said at Madison Square Garden were atrocious, and every person there should be shunned off the fucking continent. But it doesn't matter, because it wasn't a slip up, it wasn't a gaffe, it wasn't poor planning, it was the fucking marquee. It's the headline reason why all the people who still support Trump support him. Because they are afraid, and fear is a powerful emotion, and it will allow them to live in whatever level of cognitive dissonance and justify any behavior they need to justify to live in that space where they feel less afraid. So we can stop pointing out their racism and their sexism and their homophobia like it's going to do anything. Let's start pointing out that we know that they are not inherently racist and sexist and homophobic. They're cowards. When they remind us all the time, like they do, that they're not really racist or sexist, we can tell them, we know you're not. We know you're not voting for Trump because at your core you hate other people. You're voting for Trump because you're afraid of your own pathetic insignificance in this world, and you hate that about yourself. But voting for Trump isn't going to help you with that. And the only true way you're going to conquer that fear is by not being pathetic and insignificant and standing up for the people who have less than, the people who are oppressed, the people who are struggling and downtrodden. And by doing that, you become an important, significant part of your community, of your country, of all of humanity. They always say that they refuse to live in fear, and I think it's time to tell them that they need to nut up or shut up, because you have to be pretty fucking fearful to support fascism.